Well, hello and welcome to a new season of Karting Live TV and a new season of the Kart Championship. We're back at Warden Law, where we finished last year with this marvellous new balcony looking out over on the track, and we have an absolutely thrilling season for you. New classes, new drivers, returning drivers, more excitement. One thing that stays the same with Karting Live TV, and that is the marvellous Joe Bradley. Joe, 2025, you up for it?
Nick, does it get any better than this? Look at this. Warden Law, we're on the roof of the new garage building. We have got the Kart Championship here this weekend. It's a one. I know very much that you and I have been looking forward to this very weekend. We kick our karting season off, and what a way to start the Karting Live TV karting season. Round one of the Kart Championship. A little bit different this year. We've got senior karts, senior Rotax, and as we'll find, that the reason for that is we had all these kids coming through the junior categories and then it would disappear. And somebody came up with the idea, hang on a minute, let them race with us. So we've got senior Rotax for the first time. Pick a winner, I don't know. And especially here at Warden Law, the weather's going to play a factor as always. And as ever, Nick, it's all about the tyres.
Well, is it all about the tyres, or is it about aerodynamics? Who knows? But what I do know is that Joe will find out with his famous Paddock walk.
New season kicking off. Here we are at Warden Law for round one of the karting championship, and I've pinned down Joe Millward. Yes, I have. He's well known for being the father of the British Micromax champion, Luke Millward. But for now, Joe, you are one of the series organisers. You, Darren, Matty, congratulations. Here we are, another season ahead of us. And again, thank you, bit of self-indulgence, for coming to Warden Law first. I sleep in my own bed. But again, great entry for round one, and I think going forward, we'll talk about the tracks in a moment, but going forward, this series seems to be going from strength to strength.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, first round, biggest numbers the championship's ever had.
Wow.
Ever had 186. We've hit the 170s before, but 186. So Warden Law is clearly an attraction, and I think the calendar we've put together clearly sees people wanting to come and do the championship.
Yeah.
The job that myself and Darren do, and the family environment we try and provide for people, especially for the children, is clearly working, and people enjoy it. That's the feedback we get. So that's what we're going to continue working at.
And we're revisiting a bit of history, certainly from my personal view. Shennington, round two at Shennington, old school track. I remember racing there way back, but what a great decision there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, middle of the country. We've not been there for a few years, so really looking forward to going to Shennington again.
North Wales, Gleneagles, beautiful, picturesque track. PFI International.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's called International. It's, arguably where everyone wants to race.
Yeah, we wanted that on the calendar for a while, and we work closely with a lot of staff there. They come and do our events similar to what they do there. It's a track that we absolutely love, and we've worked hard to get it on the calendar. And yeah, it's a little bit of a crown there, but all the tracks have their individual bits they do themselves and how good they are. So yes, I want to say PFI is great, but all the tracks have their own stuff, especially Warden.
Yeah, and just to round off the season, Rower in Cumbria, and then Wilton Mill. Yeah. Again, tracks that are so different from one another, aren't they? And it's a great sort of an eclectic mix of corners and gradients and racing that we're going to see.
Yeah, Wilton Mill going back at the end kind of almost feels like the home of the championship, because it's kind of where it started, it's where Darren started, it's where I first started, or Luke did as a driver. So going back to Wilton's a fantastic thing at the end of the year. But like you say, and the new little kink at Wilton, love going and doing that and seeing what the drivers think of that, because they all have a different opinion on how to get through that. Yeah. So looking forward to that one as well.
Yeah, the welders love that one.
Yeah.
A little bit different for 2025. We used to be able to brag about being a child-only championship. We can't say that anymore because we've got Senior Max here.
Yeah, 100%. Look, you can start as a 6-year-old and go all the way through to a senior with us. And I think that's the important bit we want to try and get across, is the fact that we've got dad and lads still. Yes, there's some teams here, but we've got our dad and lads that have been with us a long time. And we want them to continue to grow. And some of them have moved up to junior and they're like, I still want to continue to come to the championship. So let's put a senior on and we'll keep them with us and look after them.
It's a great idea. Thank you, Joe. Here's to a great 2025. I know it's going to be fab. I know I'm excited. We go racing tomorrow. Well, there's nothing more to say than let's go racing.
Number plates are very important. They certainly are to me, because I can see who I'm talking about out on track. This particular lad has got the S plate. Now then, the S plate stands for the Scottish champion. And this guy here is the Scottish champion, Lewis Kirkcaldy. Lewis, you're carrying the S plate, and I bet you're very proud to be carrying the S plate, representing Scotland.
Yeah.
And how did you actually get the S plate? What did you have to do to get that?
So on Saturday there was 3 races, and on Sunday there was 3 races. And Saturday there was a 5-minute warm-up and a 5-minute qualifying, and then straight into the races. I qualified pole, won the first race, came second in the second race, and won the third race.
Right, and is this an Intermax?
No, Micromax.
Micromax, right, you're not tall enough to be in it, are you? So it was all about getting it right on the day, yes? So here you are at the Kart Championship. Are you going to be doing the whole championship with us this year?
Yeah.
Right, now that's a bit different, isn't it, than getting right on the day? You've got to get it right for the whole season, haven't you?
Yeah.
So who's going to get it right with you then? Who's your mechanic?
My dad,
What's his name?
Alan.
Alan. And has he raced before?
Yeah.
Was he any good?
No.
No. So you don't get that from your dad? You don't get this skill from your dad then? Of course you do. Somebody nasty to him.
My uncle.
So, Lewis, this weekend we're at Warden Law. You've been here before, haven't you? You've done the clubbies this year, but you've been here before. What do you think of the track?
It's good.
What's good about it?
Gasworks.
Gasworks, what? You like plunging into that hairpin, do you?
Yeah.
What about turn 1?
Mid.
Are you flat out through turn 1?
Yeah.
In the dry, not in the wet?
No, not in the wet.
No. But is it absolutely flat? Is it easy?
Yeah.
Wow, turn 1 flat. That's how quickly Lewis Kirkcaldy is going to be on the S plate. We've got the Scottish champion. Lewis, are you aware of the Scottish motorsport history that you're representing? Jim Clark, world champion, Jackie Stewart, David Coulthard, Colin McRae. There's loads, isn't there? Little place, little province, the top of the British Isles, and yet motorsport at the heart of it. Well done, Lewis. Best of luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
So, are aerodynamics important on karts? Are they even going fast enough to create downforce? We certainly know they create drag. Well, I am not an expert in aerodynamics, but I have a mate who is. In fact, I have a mate who's got a master's degree in aerodynamics. And what did he do with his master's degree? He went to work for Jaguar Land Rover, the most unaerodynamic car in the world. But however, let me introduce Naz Tremorian. Naz, I need to pick your brains, mate, because the variations on the ideas of aerodynamics around these kart fairings are absolutely like through the roof. There's so many different designs. So this is ST Racing's Kart Republic in Micromax. It's Freddie Blackshaw's. Here we have a completely smooth fairing to start with. So all of that study that you put in, all of that work you do during the week, tell us what exactly is the thinking behind this smooth fairing on this Kart Republic.
So let me just start off. This class of racing, you've got probably one of the smallest drivers in terms of age and height. So it means you don't have to work the air around the kart as hard, because the drivers are fairly short in height because of their age. So for this, it's to minimize drag as much as possible. And as you can see, the steering wheel is relatively square behind the NAS panel on this kart. And by having a single piece NAS panel, which doesn't have ducts, cuts, or vents, it means it's very cheap to manufacture probably, but at the same time, it's very aerodynamics because it doesn't need to work the air as hard. So as you can see towards the end of the NAS panel, you've got some ducts, and it basically, what it's trying to do is push the air outboard as easily as possible to reduce the drag. You want to reduce the drag because the driver is a brick going through air in a straight line, and the best way to do that is to optimize it by pushing the air around the driver.
So this is the one that I understand. It's about cutting through the air as fast as possible. I mean, we talk about aerodynamics being important. Certainly we know on racing cars, but are they that important? Are we going fast enough to kind of, are we creating any downforce, for instance? Or is it purely, certainly for a Micromax, about cutting through that air swiftly?
So with this category, it's mainly cutting through the air as cleanly as possible. They're not producing downforce at this sort of speed. You would have to go considerably quicker, but it's trying to clean up that airflow as these guys go down the straight. And that's one of the reasons you see drivers tuck in behind the steering wheel, and it's trying to reduce that brake going through the air, which is the driver.
Yeah. Right. This is the simplest one that even little Bradley's head can understand. We're going to move on and have a look at some more technically sort of advanced thinking with regards to fairings and how we're going to duct that air around that driver, which is the most unaerodynamic thing on the kart. So let's have a walk. So this is the TB kart with this is in X-Kart colours. Now this is the NASA panel, which has the air going through this huge duct here and coming out of the slot here. So Naz, what's it doing? What's the air doing this time?
So basically what they're trying to do in terms of design, what they're basically trying to move the airflow around the driver as much as possible to reduce drag. These cars don't produce downforce, but it's just trying to manage the drag. By venting the air through the NASA panel, what they're doing is trying to get the airflow up and over the panel itself and across the top of the driver's head. There's different ways of doing it, and this is one iteration of that. With this, they're ducting through the panel itself to reduce the drag again. And from what you can see, the outboard sides of the panel, they're trying to push it over the driver's shoulders as well. Again, this is a different iteration. The front bumper itself ties in quite nicely to this panel. It's a almost sealed flat floor front end, which reduces the airflow and drag across top of the panel.
So once again, it's all about getting the air around that brick-shaped driver again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Staying with TB karts, this is another variation on a theme. This time, Naz, air going through this duct here at the bottom of the panel, and it's also coming out at the top here, but these vanes, now these are new, I think, for 2025. So again, right, Naz, resident aerodynamicist, what's this one doing?
This is the 25-year iteration. So this time round, they've lifted the front up off the bumper to allow airflow to go underneath. And I think what they're trying to do is maintain flow on top surface and the bottom surface of the NAS panel. I think the reason they've put the cutouts on the top surface is to bleed some of that air which is going into the duct. By doing that, they can control the flow on the top surface of the NASA panel, and again it helps to push that airflow around the driver. Instead of having a high velocity air going around the driver, they're bleeding some air off to maintain the surface contact with the top surface of the panel.
So why is it important to maintain that air's attachment to this body part then? Is there a reason for that?
So as soon as the airflow comes off the panels, you can't control it at that point. If you maintain the surface contact...
Is that when it's called dirty air?
Yes. So if you can maintain contact with the actual surface, you can control it. As soon as you have any sort of wake where it comes off the panel, at that point you've got no control of it. So it's trying to maintain that surface contact and trying to guide the air around the driver. The other difference you can see on this iteration, the 25 model year, is they've also got cutouts on the bumper ends. So what this is doing, they're channeling the air around the front tyre and guiding it to the side panel. Again, the name of this is just to reduce drag in a straight line. Round corners, the speeds aren't sufficient, I don't think, to affect the speed and the drag. It's down the straight, and that's why you can see the drivers tuck in like motorbike riders to reduce that drag. And it's, if you imagine the driver is a brick through the air and they tuck down, and it's fine when you're a smaller driver, but when you're tall, like some drivers we've seen, 6'6", you're an air brake.
Yeah.
So it's tucked down, hide behind the steering wheel, and let the airflow go around you rather than having a flat front. So the name of the game is to reduce drag and go a bit quicker in the straight line.
So here we have the Carlos Sainz 55 chassis, and again another variation on aerodynamic thinking. This one, Naz, has got a massive, well, duct really going up the whole of the fairing. So what's the thinking on this one?
So my view with this one, it's obviously the most basic because you've just got a channel which feeds air over the driver. But if you look towards the end of that slope, you've got a very aggressive ramp up, which means that's pushing the air up.
So this bit here?
Yeah, that's pushing the air up and over quite aggressively over the driver's head. That angle heavily depends on the driver's height. So if you have a driver which is shorter, you would want less angle because you're working the air.
Right.
And the more you work the air, the more drag you produce. So this is quite an aggressive setup. I think it'll work best with a tall driver, but if you've got a shorter driver, I wouldn't say it's the best setup. But it depends on the driver and their height.
Well, this is a senior Rotax. I'm not sure who the driver is. Who's the driver, Dan? It's Elliot Dalton-Ayres with Hunter Motorsport this weekend, and Elliot is a tall lad, so that's working well for this particular size of driver.
Exactly, yeah. If you've got a tall driver, I think this is the best setup.
Right.
If you've got a shorter driver in terms of height, I would say go down a different route. But again, you can see on the sides of the panel, it's sculpted quite well. And again, that's to feed air around the driver's shoulders as best as possible to reduce that low pressure zone behind the driver to reduce the drag.
So again, we're back at ST Racing. This is a Cosmic chassis, but this is completely different, isn't it? I mean, look at the detail that's gone into here. There's a little bit of detail here on the front bumper as well. That's actually, you can't really see that, but that's contoured with little ducting going there. But these vanes controlling the air, or are they? You're the expert, mate. What have you got to tell us?
So what they're trying to do, in my opinion, with this setup is they've got to control the air over the driver and around the driver. But the problem you have is how do you control that air smoothly and consistently? If you have a duct like some other variants that you see, with a duct you can control it to a degree. As the air exits, that's it. You've lost control of it. You're just hoping that it stays in the place you want it to. But having fins and vanes like this, what you can do is control the air from start to finish as it leaves the panel. And instead of just having a duct through the middle which guides the air over the driver's head, you've actually got fins which guide the air over the driver by having the ramp towards the end. And also you've got angled fins which are pushing and controlling the air around the driver's shoulder.
So you're taking all of that air that's flowing across the front and you're controlling some of it around the driver and some of it over the driver, rather than just relying on the physics and the science to get rid of the air off the kart.
Exactly. And the main difference with this is, if you imagine if you're going around the corner as well, where the car is at an angle, at that point, if you've just got a simple duct, the air's going to bleed sideways.
Right.
Whereas this, because you're controlling it harder, you can control that airflow better, even around the corner. So it'll optimize in a straight line to reduce drag, but around the corner, I was a driver back in the day, and there's nothing worse than getting spray in your face. But with a setup like this, I'd be surprised if the visor of the driver is not clearer around the corner. Yeah.
Because you've got more airflow directly across his helmet.
It's going around his helmet. So
okay.
So the dirty air, dirty water and spray, this will guide away from the driver's face. Wow. So it might even help with visibility. But the beauty of this setup is you're not just relying on a single duct, which can, depending on the other variants we've seen, which is an aggressive ramp towards the end. The ramp on this is quite small, so drag is even less. And at the same time, it's still achieving what's trying to do. But for me, this is the best setup.
I was going to ask you, after we've looked at a lot of aerodynamics on these front fairings, these NASA panels. Is this your favourite?
For me, this is my favourite. If you compare this to a diffuser of a racing car, where you've got fins in the middle, by splitting certain sections of the diffuser, this is working in the same way.
Controlling air.
Controlling air in the direction you want to control it. Whereas with a single duct or single ramp up towards the end, towards the steering wheel, you can't control it as cleanly as you can with this.
And just to clarify and conclude, it's not producing downforce. It's all about cutting through the air as quickly as possible. And it's all about, we use the term marginal gains. And that's what we're doing here. We're looking for marginal gains, aren't we?
Absolutely. With karting, you can see if the field in the top 20 is split by 0.1 second at most.
Yeah.
So even a tiny gain down the straights can give you that difference in qualifying, and in karting it can be hard to pass. So any gain you can get, either aero or whatever, is going to benefit you in the long run.
Well, Naz, thank you very much for that tech talk. I'm sorry, but you've got to go back to trying to get Range Rovers to cut through the air as best as you can. Good luck with that. And that concludes our tech talk for this week.